Alright guys, looks like it's going to be another week of me trying to keep things small and simple because, once again, drama, which I don't mean to keep bringing up, but just in case videos go missing or things are late or I miss a stream, etc., I want you guys to know, yeah, things are rough and we're working through them. But until then, I'm going to keep things a little bit easier to handle. And Transformers Prime Cyberverse figures are generally easy to handle. This is Trailcutter. Trailcutter being one of my favorite G1 Autobots. I love that this guy's been getting some major attention lately in the form of new toys coming out fairly often, as some get pushed to the back and others start getting a little bit more attention than they used to. It's a cycle that way. As we see, just like the original, he is a black pickup truck, though unlike the original, this one came straight out of twisted metal. Massive blades hanging off the top for no apparent reason, as well as, of course, these big guns hanging off in the front. Snowplow added too. Of course, this is the Prime Ironhide mold, at least the Cyberverse version, which I'm a huge fan of, that design. So I was thrilled to find out it was coming out as Trailcutter. And this is one of those things that always worries me because black pickup trucks these days usually mean movie Ironhide. So I'm happy to see one of my favorite G1s get brought back anew. So, yeah, almost all black, with a yellow stripe down the side, which is kind of similar to his G1 counterpart, but different as well. It's a little bit simplified, but hey, the idea is there. Most of the deco is up here in the front, where the windshields have this nice metallic powder blue, as well as, of course, the guns painted up in silver, and some gray plastic there for the exposed engine. Along the side, we can also see some of the nice molding going on. There's little details like door handles and vents, as well as a riveted window, as if he's been reinforced, because this whole thing looks like a heavy-duty combat vehicle, even though it also looks like a Ford pickup truck. Of course, this was during Beast Hunters, where Autobots got to wear a bunch of spiky bits and look like they came straight out of Mad Max. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't object to Autobots getting a little bit more serious from time to time. So still, it is a rather small figure, not a whole lot going on. He doesn't have the light bar that the traditional G1 toy has. Some molding up the top, nothing too spectacular. And the truck bed itself is not a bed. It's just kind of flat where his robot mode parts are, though it's fairly clever the way everything's tucked in and hidden here. There really isn't that much exposed. So yeah, all good, all good. Now, he also comes with, of course, some accessory bits, which of course includes this. Actually, I say includes. This is the only accessory bit. So he does have a missile launcher of sorts with a big claw thing sticking out, and it can mount on the side, though this is a G1 toy, so you can also mount it on the front where it looks kind of silly. But that's kind of how G1 rolled, so I'm glad they left it in. You can post on the back too. There's little ports in the back if you want to have it hanging out there. So he has positions for it, which is always nice. But yeah, that's pretty much the vehicle mode. Let's get this guy transformed and we'll see what he's really about. And I'm going to start by folding these bits up so we can kind of clear the way for everything else to come. The arms have to get separated out. They peg here. That gets separated, and then we rotate all this all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and handle the legs now. Get those unfolded as... Boom. I like that. I like this piece of transformation. Swing out, feet down. Nice. And it creates this nice little look to the legs, which we'll give a closer look at later. But for now, pull the arms down and flip up the kibble to form more solid forearms. We can also rotate these pieces of tire to the back a little bit so we can see the forearm and make it look like those sections are a little bit better transformed. It's being a little stubborn. What's being stubborn on there? Oh well. One side is not going as well as the other side did, so we'll just leave it that way. And then this comes down. And that gives us our Cyberverse Trailcutter in full robot mode. There's something about the stature to this toy I really, really like. I like the wide shoulders. I like the very powerful appearance it has. This looks like a tough bot. This looked like a really tough bruiser of a bot before he had spiky bits hanging off everywhere, and before he had that black and red paint job that is so hard to make look bad. It's nigh impossible to make black and red and silver look bad. Let's take a look at the head. I'll give you a nice close-up that the camera will focus in on. He's got kind of a strange look for a Prime figure. His face is very large, helmet's very flat, face is kind of flat too, but it does have some of Trailcutter's signature Trailbreaker. We're calling him Cutter for trademark purposes. Yeah, it has some of his trademark looks. It has some of his designs. There's the light bar, or at least what piece of the light bar remains in robot mode traditionally on him. So it does have that. I like how the headlights kind of mount up there too. Gives them a little bit of extra color around. So that looks quite good. The head does look a little bit strange, I will admit, especially if you see iron hides, and it just kind of looks like a typical head. This one looks a little large for that matter, but it kind of proportions better to the toy. So yeah, very wide stance, very, very hulking look to him, with a narrow chest and waist, and these huge shoulders that go just out for miles. I love the color scheme. Of course I do. It's black and red. If you watch the channel, you'll know I have kind of a thing for that color scheme. But it mixes in silver and little bits here, yellow, some pale gold, the blue here. I love that the windshield is not a cheat, because it would have been so easy to make the windshield a cheat. You can also see a lot of mech detail painted in there on the midsection. I do like that too. Little itty bitty Autobot symbol. One of the tiniest you can have. It still seems to have all the detailing to it. That's some fine detail work. Toward the legs, we have big silver knee guards as well as the red here, kind of mimicking some of his features from G1. A little bit of red here on the forearms too. So he does have a decent level of paint to him all the way around. And he's clean too, look at that. Not a whole lot of junk going on in the back. He handles things pretty well. So, what do we have for articulation? Let's see. Do we have the head? No, we don't have the head, by virtue of how he transforms. Let's see. We do have ball-jointed shoulders, so that works, as well as hinges that move the arm out and in. You'll notice his shoulders themselves are on these hinges, which unfortunately don't seem to lock in place in any way. And it's a little bit frustrating because the hinge is a lot looser than the shoulder and it really wants to move. But then again, the ball joint is not too great on that shoulder anyway. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, you have a ball joint here in the elbow, so we do have full rotation as well as a 90-degree bend. So that works out for me. No waist. Ball joints in the hips. Simple as that. 90-degree knee bend. And the ankles have not only a tilt, but also a little bit of rocking motion to the foot. So all good there. For such a big buff character, he actually does have a good level of articulation. Missing a few points. I would have preferred a more standard bicep swivel, and there's nothing in the waist, which this piece of bit engineering and doesn't seem to really have a reason for. Like, he seems like one of those who really could have had a waist joint if they were willing to put just one more piece into the construction. So that part's unfortunate, but hey, it's an inexpensive figure, so I'm not expecting a massive range of articulation. And then, yeah, he does have his launcher, which can now peg into his hand quite effectively, as you would expect it to. The design itself is kinda interesting. You have this big bludgeoning thing on the front, which I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to look like, but I don't know, some kind of warhead of sorts. I don't know. I do like the launcher though, this big 3-bladed thing. What's neat about that is with the missile launched out, it's just a ball joint pressure launch missile. This still looks like an imposing weapon. This looks like it could do some kind of damage. I don't know, like, you want to pretend it's a railgun, you can, but also I don't think you would I don't think it would tickle to get poked with that thing. So I do think it makes an effective weapon. What about this? Because Honestly, that... No, not quite doing that. I wanted to use it as a club, because the end of it looks more like a club than a warhead of any kind. But hey, it is what it is. So I'm going to call that a review. This is Cyberverse Trailcutter, who is a pretty good figure. There's some faults to him. The joints seem to be a little bit worse than they were on my Ironhide. And maybe the head's design is a little bit more cartoonish than I would have liked. But beyond that, I'm really happy with the toy. I love the remolding. I love what a fierce look he has in both modes. The color scheme is great. It's a great little homage to one of my favorite Autobots from the original cast, who really does not get enough love just because all he does is put up a force field. But hey, comes in handy for every now and then, so can't really fault him, can you?